Hi everyone, welcome back to our third reading of the one and only Ruby. We are starting on page 55. It's called The Hole. It's not a big hole, but it might be big enough, especially if an elephant pushed on it hard. If I ran away, maybe I wouldn't have to do my tusk day. A voice in my says, Ruby, don't be silly. You can't run away. There's nowhere to go. It says, even if you can sneak away for a while, they'll find you. You know very well that elephants aren't very easy to hide. It says, this is really not a good plan, Ruby. You can delay your tusk day, but not forever. Before I can argue back, I hear Aunt Akello calling me. I'll have to finish this conversation with myself another time. Ruby, Aunt Akello calls. Over here, dear. Coming, I reply, trunk trudging along. Trunk trudging is sort of the opposite of floppy running. It's when you plod extra slow, dragging your trunk. Trunk trudging is useful when you have to do annoying things like go to bed or visit the vet or practice for your tusk day. As I near her, Aunt Akello points with her trunk. It appears someone's looking for you, over by the visitors area. That's not unusual. Lots of humans come to the park to see me. I'm not bragging. It's just a fact. When you're the littlest elephant, you end up with lots of fans. I figure it's probably Carmen, a girl who visits me nearly every week with her family. Carmen always starts to cry when her mother tells her it's time to leave the park. She says she wants to take me home with her. She wants me to be her pet and sleep in her bed and go to school with her for sharing time. I don't think I would like being a pet elephant, although Uncle Bob is a pet, even though he claims he's not. He lives with people who take him on walks and feed him treats and rub his tummy. That sure sounds like a pet to me. But Uncle Bob says he is a service dog because he's providing the service of being charming. When I get to the stone wall where most of the visitors are gathered, I look for Carmen, but she's nowhere to be found. Some of the people go, "Aw," when they see me. Lots of them take pictures. I raise my trunk and give them my best cute baby elephant pose, and that's when I hear it. A man's voice calling my name. Not Ruby, one of my old names, one of my African names. I spread my ears wide and listen. Dooney, over here, Dooney. It's Jabori's voice, Jabori's laugh, a big, loud, straight from the belly laugh. Jabori, my old friend from Africa, Jabori, alive and well. At last I see him, tall and slender and smiling ear to ear, waving and jumping to be sure I see him. He's holding a map of the park and wearing a baseball cap, like lots of the visitors. But Jabori isn't just any visitor. Jabori saved my life. He cared for me when I was just a tiny orphaned baby. He named me Dooney, too. My mother had called me Naya, but Jabori didn't know that, of course. Both of those names got left behind in Africa, like so many things. I trumpet like crazy and dance around and do everything I can to say hello. For a long time, kind of like forever, Jabori and I gaze at each other. I want so much to be close to him, to drape my trunk around his neck, to feel his hands patting my back, to hear him humming his silly elephant lullabies. But my world is full of fences and walls now. After a while, Jabori starts chatting with one of the park workers. Her name is Mandy, and she answers questions from visitors and gives talks about me and my aunts. Jabori points at me, Mandy nods, and they walk off together, threading their way through the crowd. Before he turns a corner, Jabori spins around and waves to me. This time, instead of Dooney, he calls Ruby. He spends a little extra time on the first part of my name. Ruby, Ruby, like he's cheering me on, my biggest fan of all time. After a moment, Jabori disappears into the crowd. I wait and wait, but he never returns. I'm just about to head over to Canine Corner when Dowan, one of the elephant keepers, approaches me. Or Daywan, rather. He's carrying a big, juicy-looking apple, which he knows I love, and of course when he signals for me to follow him, I do. We're trained to obey the keeper's commands so they can take care of us, but I'll do anything for a free apple. Daywan leads me toward a private walled-off area where we sometimes get checkups with TJ or one of the other vets. For some reason, Mandy, the tour guide, is waiting there for us. I feel a little suspicious, but when Daywan hands me the apple, I get distracted. Snacks will do that. I'm chomping away on the apple when just at the other side of the brick wall, I see a baseball cap. Ruby, a voice calls. Dooney. That's why Mandy and Daywan have brought me here. This time there's no moat, and Jabori's so close I can reach over the wall, grab that silly hat of his, and toss it in the air, just like the old days. So of course, I do. When Mandy unlocks a gate and Jabori enters, we run to each other and he hugs me like I'm the little orphan baby he cradled for so many nights. And even though I'm practically grown up and have tusks and everything, I let him. It's the least I can do. After Jabori and I say our goodbyes, I floppy run to Canine Corner to see Uncle Ivan. Uncle Bob has just arrived with Julia. Julia waves to me and I trumpet a hello. No funny business, you, she tells Uncle Bob. He winks at me like always. I can't help being funny. Back in a half hour, Julia calls as she heads off. Guess who I just saw? I say to Uncle Ivan and Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob scratches an ear. Is this a riddle? No, it's a for real thing, I exclaim. I just saw my friend Jabori. He took care of me in Africa at the elephant orphanage. Elephant what? Asks Uncle Ivan, tilting his big old head. It's where baby elephants went if they didn't have a mom, or an aunt, or a herd, the ones who needed someone to take care of them. Ivan plucks a piece of grass and gazes at it. I can tell he's wondering about something because his eyes have a special thinking look, soft and glowy like dawn clouds. You never told us about that, Ruby. I didn't, I ask. But as soon as the words are out of my mouth, I realize he's right. I guess some things kind of don't want to get talked about, I say, even though it isn't much of an explanation. You know how that is. I'm thinking about Uncle Ivan and Aunt Stella, of course, but I don't say that part. So how did this Jabori fellow find you here, asks Uncle Bob. I heard him tell Daywan and Mandy that he searched sanctuaries and zoos on his computer, I say. He's here visiting family in the U.S. Humans love those laptop thingies, says Bob, but if you can't chew on it or chase it, I don't see the point. I give the pond a little splash with my trunk. It was so good to see Jabori, and he hugged me lots, and I even got to steal his hat like in the old days. Ivan looks confused. That happens sometimes, even though he is a very wise gorilla. You stole his hat, he asks. It was our way of saying hello, I explain. I would wrap my trunk around his shoulder, and then, when he didn't suspect anything, I would grab his hat with my trunk and make it fly through the air like a weird bird. And he liked this routine, Uncle Bob asks. It made him laugh. Jabori laughs a lot. I pause. When I heard it today, I all of a sudden realized how much I missed it. And him. It made me so happy. And then, out of nowhere, I feel this frozen place inside me start to melt a little. I guess it was always there, but somehow I didn't realize it. And now I'm crying, and I don't even really know why. Uncle Bob is pacing back and forth, and Uncle Ivan and Aunt Kenyani look like they're going to leap over the wall separating us. Ruby, Uncle Ivan calls, please don't cry, please, what's wrong? I swallow a sob. I don't know. Seeing Jabori made me happy, but it also made me sad because I started remembering things. Take a deep breath and think about pineapples, Aunt Kenyani advises. That always helps me. I do as she says, but I do not really like pineapples, so I'm still sad. Why don't you tell us more about your time in Africa, Uncle Bob suggests. Maybe that would make you feel better. More good advice from Bob, Aunt Kenyani shakes her head. I'm positively flummoxed. I'll take that as a compliment, says Bob. Go ahead, Ruby, says Uncle Ivan. He sends me an encouraging smile. Tell us more about Jabori and the orphanage. I take another deep breath. I think of pineapples one more time, but that still doesn't help. So I begin. Do you remember what it was like when you were just born, I ask? Uncle Bob and Aunt Kenyani shake their heads. To tell the truth, I have trouble remembering yesterday, Uncle Ivan says, although I think I had 7 bananas for breakfast. It was 9, dear, says Kenyani. Well, I remember everything, I say. I sniffle, but talking is making me feel a little better already. I remember lying on the hard ground and blinking at the brightness, even though I was hidden under my mama and it was the middle of the day. Whoa, says Uncle Bob. Elephants really do have great memories. Everyone in my herd was there, I add. I remember a forest of gray legs surrounding me and all the trunks nuzzling me to say, welcome, little one. I even remember my big brother, Reth, running in circles, asking if I wanted to play chase. It took a little bit of time to figure out that I had 4 legs. Mama trunk boosted me, helping me while I tried to get my balance. My legs wobbled, but I was standing. Amazing, says Uncle Ivan. It takes human babies around a year to learn to walk. Uncle Bob scratches an ear. Well, he says those kiddos are a few fries short of a Happy Meal, if you catch my drift. Can't walk on their own, can't talk, don't even know how to poop outside. It feels good to smile. Yeah, elephant babies rule, I say. I wish I could have been there. Everybody in the herd was so happy to see me. When Mama announced that my name would be Naya, there was lots of rumbling and trumpeting and ear flapping. The memory makes me sigh. I figured I must be pretty special. Uncle Ivan nods. You were right about that, my girl. Before long, I smelled something important and sweet. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I needed it more than anything else in the world. I sniffed with my trunk, which was not helpful, because at first, when you're a baby elephant, your trunk doesn't always listen to you. You tell it to go up and it goes down. You tell it to go right and it goes left. Worst yet, everything tickles and makes you sneeze. The first time I sneezed, I fell over. It was such a surprise. Mama knew what to do, fortunately. She shifted a bit, just a step or two, and there it was. My first meal. I heard my brother laugh. Later, he told me I was as messy as a warthog when I ate. But I was happy and I was special and I was surrounded by love. I had a feeling I was going to like being an elephant. How many elephants were in your herd, Ruby? Uncle Ivan asks. In my troop. That's a gorilla family. We had 10 gorillas. I stopped to count. 16. A herd is a big old family. Mostly it's females. Sisters and aunts and moms and grandmothers. But there can be boys too. When they get old enough, they head off with other guy elephants. That's a whole lot of elephants, said Uncle Bob. Yep, I say. As soon as I was strong enough, we all started moving. The reason baby elephants learn to walk so quickly is because they have to. Elephants are always traveling from one place to another in search of food and water. And 50 miles a day is a lot of walking. No way could I knuckle walk that far, says Uncle Ivan. Me neither, says Uncle Bob. I'm cursed with the burden of teeny tiny adorable legs. You would have loved where I lived, I say. The savannah is huge and beautiful and sometimes scary, like Aunt Akello. It's grassland mostly, with dry and rainy seasons, although there wasn't nearly enough rain when I was there. Sometimes it's green and growing, and sometimes the land looks sort of sick and thirsty. During a drought, the grass turns brown and bristly, and dust sticks to you like you're wearing a coat. Everybody's kind of connected on the savannah. Mama taught me that right away. Dung beetles and cheetahs and vultures and giraffes, rock pythons and hyenas. Everybody. Of course, it's not like we were all best buddies. There aren't any fences or walls on the savannah, which means you always have to be on the lookout for somebody who wants to eat you. Lucky for me, elephants are so powerful that we really don't have to be as afraid as smaller animals. Same with gorillas, said Uncle Ivan. We just had to worry about humans. On the other hand, everybody wants to eat a guy who's my size, Uncle Bob grumbles. Well, hyenas and lions and other animals with sharp teeth will eat elephant babies if they get the chance, I say. That's why calves are always protected by their herd. In Africa, I think to myself, an elephant alone is not an elephant for long. Every day on the savannah was kind of the same. Walking, eating, drinking, playing, resting, but mostly walking. Sometimes I would grab Mama's tail when we walked. She didn't mind. She was a great mom, always checking on me, being an umbrella, feeding me whenever I wanted. And it was awesome having so many relatives on hand to provide advice and a helping trunk. Mama was called Bashira, and she was so pretty. She had long legs and beautiful tusks. When she trumpeted, she could make the whole savannah tremble, even me. I was her second calf. Her first, my brother Reth, was 4 years older than me. Reth was fun, but he was awfully noisy and rambunctious. Mostly I played with my friend Gachinga, who happened to be a cattle egret. Cattle egrets are those small whitish birds with long beaks. They're nice, but some of them can be a little pushy. Whenever you see a herd of elephants, you'll probably see a flock of cattle egrets riding on top of them, acting like they're in charge of the whole wide world. When elephants walk, our heavy feet kick up all kinds of things, especially dirt and brush and grasses where lots of insects live. Since cattle egrets love to eat bugs when they stay near elephants, it's like they're at an all-day restaurant and we're the cooks. In return, the cattle egrets squawk like crazy when they know a bad guy like a lion is coming, and that gives the grown-up elephants time to gather their calves close so they can be extra protected. Gachinga hopped on my back when I was 3 days old. He was just a little guy himself, the smallest of his brood. Maybe that's why he decided to hang out with me. In any case, even my little feet kicked up a fair number of bugs, and I was almost always right next to Mama, so Gachinga got twice the food in return for sitting on me all day. The first time Gachinga landed on my back, I turned my head and, "Hey, who invited you?" "Oh, pardon me," he exclaimed in a squeaky voice. "Is this seat taken?" "As a matter of fact," I said, "it's my seat." I was told that this is how it's done," Gachinga said. "If you look about, you'll see what I mean." I glanced around, and sure enough, a bunch of white birds sat on the backs of my relatives. Grandmama, our matriarch, even had 2 cattle egrets on her. I watched as one flitted off her back to snatch a big old bug, then came back to enjoy his meal. "If you let me stay, I can eat bugs that annoy you," Gachinga said. He flapped his wings. "And if there are any hyenas coming, I'll warn you." That's why we have Grandmama and the others, I said. Well, she doesn't eat mosquitoes, does she? Kachinga asked. Well, not on purpose. There you have it then, he said. My name is Kachinga, by the way. What's yours? They call me Naya, I said. Kachinga hopped a little closer to my head. Can you whistle? Nope, I said, but I'm learning to trumpet. Before long, we became our own little band. I would thump my feet and Kachinga would start a trill, and then I would add a huff or a puny trumpet, and back and forth we would go until one of the ants would tell us to cut it out. Kachinga was my very first friend. A first friend is a true gift because forever after, your heart knows what's possible. I glance over at my friends. I'm sorry, I say. Am I talking too much? No, Uncle Ivan exclaims. Please tell us more, Ruby. I was wondering, says Uncle Bob, when you first ran into humans. That must have been a shock. Actually, I say, long before I ever saw any humans, I smelled them. Yep, Uncle Bob nods. They do have a distinctive odor. Kachinga and I noticed the smell at the same time. When I asked Mama what that weird sour smell was drifting on the wind, she said, that's the smell of danger, Naya. Remember it. And I did too. Not that it would matter. All right, that's the end of our reading for today. Join me for our next one of The One and Only Ruby.